Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second annual Global Goddess Fest, a week-long virtual festival to inspire, activate, and connect female leaders, entrepreneurs, and creatives worldwide. So I am so excited to have Cecilia on with us today. She is calling in from India, where she lives, but is also from Sweden, grew up there. And so Cecilia is an entrepreneur, visionary, brand ambassador, yoga teacher. She's the former vice president and marketing director, global brand ambassador at Sula Wines, Sula Vineyards in India, and helped build up the wine industry really in India. And so her and I met while I was traveling through India, and we were both on a panel for female empowerment on International Women's Day. So we had a really beautiful, special meeting. And then afterwards, I was going to be traveling around for a bit longer, and so was she. And so we ended up being able to spend some weeks together traveling, getting to know each other, getting to know each other's business. And we just developed a really sweet soul sister connection. So I'm so happy to have you here. Thank you for coming.
Well, thank you. I'm so excited to be talking to you today and be sharing the stories that we have together and that I have here in India.
Yeah, definitely. So first of all, let's start with how did you get into the wine industry in India? And also, for everyone that's watching, the wine industry has been pretty much a new industry, right? So maybe if you could share about how you got involved and what that was like starting something really from the ground up.
So I was in Sweden. I was working in Stockholm. I had my own business. It was a wine import company focusing on New World wines from South Africa, Argentina, Brazil, Mexico, Chile, etc. And I was in South Africa for a wine exhibition looking at wines from South Africa to Sweden. But then I met this Indian man who was introducing me to wines from India. So I tasted wines in South Africa, from India in South Africa the first time. And that opened up my eyes to that they actually consumed wines in India, produced wines in India. There was a market that also was growing in terms of the wine industry. So not too long after, I was writing about wines from Asia and looking more and more into that market. Which the same man that I met in South Africa got to know about, and he connected me with me and he offered me a job in India. That was as a consultant back in 2007. When I got the offer, I didn't really know anything about India, but I always liked challenges and I always been drawn to Asia. So I had a background in my parents and my grandparents living in Thailand. So it wasn't so alien for me either, and I took the opportunity and I took on the challenge, and I moved to India, to a very nascent wine industry still, but saw that there was so much opportunities and so much that could be done in Sweden and Europe, where I'm from. Most had kind of already been done, and the wine industry wasn't really growing. But in India, there was endless of things happening and endless of things that you can change and make a difference to do. So I did, and I stayed, and it's been 11 years, and it's been quite a journey. The wine industry has grown quite a lot, and the wine company that I was with for 10 years is today the largest wine company with 70% market share, and produce about 1 million cases, and we have so many more wine drinkers in the country. So that was, I guess, in short, but I'd love to say more about it, but I don't think we have that much time. But yeah.
And in the industry, were there many other women that you were working with?
No. Actually, one thing that was, I guess, the biggest challenge, and also one of the biggest opportunities, were that there were not that many women, and women were a different reason. It's a manufacturing industry. So in India, people in manufacturing, there are not so many women. In sales, there are not so many women, but also in alcohol, it's very taboo to be a woman, to work in alcohol. So I also saw it as something where I could inspire others to be women working as both in sales and marketing, being on the field, and just being a woman to inspire others. And that's something that I also feel that I've done. And so many more women, winemakers in sales, manufacturing, marketing, because we also really put efforts into employing more women, has come into the industry. And I think we started about 5% women in the organization. We were about 30%. We were that a couple of months ago, which is a big thing for a wine industry.
Yeah, that's amazing. And what were some of the challenges of being being a female in a male-led industry?
I think the good thing for me was that I still came from a Western culture where they also kind of knew that it was accepted to consume wines as compared to in India, where women, for sure, women are not really accepted when it comes to drinking strong liquor. But then I also had an opportunity to show them that this is what we do, and this is, what's normal, and what women can do. And it became slowly and slowly more accepted, in particular in the country, to see women drinking wines. I think a challenge for me was that I was pretty young when I came, and most of the people that I worked with in my position were men, and they were older, and they found that a little bit, I think, different. But I think that's in general in any part of the world where you're a young woman working with with men that are older, even with women that I think, in general, when you're younger. And I was young, still young. But I think that was a bit of a challenge. And then it was a challenge for me to be in India, because the rules and the regulations and everything was so different from what I knew. And the work ethics, the way that it works, and around an executive, meeting in a room where people talk, when other people talk, you really have to speak up to make yourself heard, and really, I felt also people have a tendency sometimes, but again, it doesn't necessarily come to being in India. It could be in any part of the world to take credit for others' work. Sometimes men has that a little bit more than women, because women are not as confident. That's something also I felt. But I'm pretty confident though, and I did speak up. But I got more and more courage and self-esteem and all that over the years that I was working, and I'm still here. So it doesn't kill you, makes you stronger, right?
Mm-hmm, definitely. But I just love hearing about and when you're speaking, I see and feel the courage that you had and the determination to just be you and really put aside the fact that there were differences and just kind of step in and work and say, hey, I'm here to help make a change. And this isn't about me being a female or a male or my age. I know how I can help, and here I am to do it. So I love that piece about you that you kind of represent.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And so when we met, you had actually just made a big transition and had decided to leave Sula, the company that you had been working for and helping build for, I think it was 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what was part of that decision of leaving, and what kind of inspired you to change your trajectory and change your path?
So sometimes I think I've heard that the 10-year period is a period where you really start thinking about, you start reflecting on things that has been in the past. Sometimes some people say it happens after 3 years. Some people say that it happens after 1 year. But some people, 10 years is something that's coming back to me, at least. So I think that kind of hit me, that I've been with one organization for 10 years, and it wasn't necessarily mine, though. I'm a shareholder in the company, very happy shareholder today. But I still wasn't the one that started the company, and I felt that I've given so much to one company, even though there were different angles to it, that I wanted to kind of break through and do something for my own. So therefore, I didn't know though what to do. When when I met you, I was kind of on a journey where I was considering and going to different conferences and taking courses and board of directors, a yoga teacher, and all these things that I was doing over the last year. But then I really came to that conclusion that I wanted to be me and build my own brands and represent the other brands, but still be just me. So that's where I've been taking on this whole role as ambassador for different companies in different industries, and it's really motivating me. It really makes me want to jump out of bed every morning. So I think to come back to your question, I guess I wasn't jumping out of bed every morning after 10 years with this company. I love them to bits, and I'm still involved, but I could not see myself continuing being operationally involved and do what I was doing. Also, what happened at that time when you're in a very senior position, and some people really enjoy and have the talent to be doing what I was doing at that point, is that you take on more administrative work, more HR work, you work a lot with people, you have to be very attentive to the people. When you have 10 people under you and 20 maybe, that's manageable. When it gets to 30 and 100, there's a lot of people, and there's a lot of energy that you need to give to the people that work under you. And you need to have a very strong administration and HR team to be able to deal with that, and really good leadership skills. And I wouldn't say that I didn't have the leadership skills, but I felt that it took more energy of me to be more administrative in HR, and some of my creativity kind of diluted, and I always want to just blossom creativity because that's what I'm born to do.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Yeah. And yeah, I love that, just how you have been able to see, like, okay, this isn't a bad situation that I'm in, but how could I enhance my life even more? How can I be more authentic and more me? I think a lot of women deal with that because it's like once you create your life and you're like, okay, cool, things are going, everything's good. Like, I love who I'm working with, and I'm happy to stand behind it. But sometimes there's just like a little piece that's still misaligned. And a lot of times you can just kind of keep putting it under the rug without looking at it and really seeing what is that piece that's misaligned, because that might actually be like the key piece to finding your like sole purpose for being here on the planet. What are you really good at? Like you're saying, like, I'm creative, I want to step into that. So I love that. And what has it been like, so on the other end of it, as you've been stepping into doing work that you can really get, like, it brings you out of bed every morning, what would you say to any women that are maybe in a place where they're not jumping out of bed every morning excited for their work? What would you tell them?
I tell them that I would tell them to make a list of what is it that make them not want to jump out of bed every morning, and what is it that would make them want to jump out of bed every morning, and trying to see what other people can do of the things that they don't want to do, how they can potentially, if it's in work, delegate that to others, and if then comes to the other list of things that you want to do, how do you get there? What do you need to do to get there? What do you need to learn? Are the skills that you might not have that you still could get? What do you need to read up on? Who do you need to meet? Who do you need to have as a mentor to get to that? What kind of courses could you potentially take? Or if you think that's what you want to do, at least give that a chance, because you don't want to one day end up feeling, okay, I didn't even try, because that's the worst regret. That's the last thing you want to get into. So I've had these moments so many times where I'm, thinking, what if maybe I should try and this, that, but I've kind of decided to give whatever my hearts tell me to do, and whatever, my soul is, leading me towards, I really need to give that my fullest. And if it's not really in it for me, I just have to find some kind of way to leave it behind. I'm not saying that everything is exciting. I mean, I'm also, obviously doing things on a daily basis that are not like, woohoo, the most exciting things. But, I wouldn't say too many things, though. I'm actually doing most of the things I really love doing.
Yeah. And I think that's just such a good approach too. Like, that's something that really drew me to your energy and how you show up in the world, is that it's very action oriented. So it's like, if you don't like what you're doing, like make that list and like start, like make those actions and decide to choose differently. And I think that's such a powerful way to be looking at your life and looking at the world. Would you say that that is like a key component to how you've been able to grow your success?
Yeah, I would say so. But I mean, it has been it's been a long journey. I'm also, I have a life of a career where I've been working, going up in the morning and be like, oh my God, this is crazy. So it's not like you can just jump on it and be like happy today. It's a journey that you have to go through. So even if there's something that you want to achieve, I'm not saying that hard work is not there. Hard work has to be there. But then it's just that identifying still what makes you happy. Because I believe that you learn more and more as you live, that if you do things that makes you happy and makes your heart sing, then you would be so much better at it. If you do things that doesn't make you happy, or that you're not necessarily, genetically made to do, whatever it is, then it will take you much longer time, and you're going to spend so much time and energy on something that someone else could do. So I'm just, coming back to things that I learned over the years that, to answer your question, I'd say that, if you're aligned and if you're really following what it is that makes you happy, and try to find ways to get others and, tools for things that don't make you happy, then you will be, you'll be successful. And you will be healthy. Because if you're not doing things that you're not happy about, that will also result in, situations where your health is going to go for a toss.
Yeah, definitely. That's so important.
That's really important to put a lot of focus into that. And you don't really need to put focus into it if you're happy. So,
Yeah, exactly. I love that. And is there any other last messages that you kind of want to share to the women that are watching?
One thing that I could, potentially inspire, share is that it's important to have courage and to believe in yourself. And, one thing that I did, of course, I left my home country, Sweden, to go to India, to a whole new continent, and I didn't know anyone really. I actually didn't know anyone. I would possibly not have done that if I didn't believe myself. There were people telling me, maybe this is not a very good idea, and, it's India, you don't know what's in it, all these people, all this jazz. And then there were other peoples, like my grandmother, who lived in Thailand for 30 years with my grandfather, who were just like, Cecilia, if you go, you can always come back, right? It's just a ticket. It's a flight ticket and you're back again. So I think it's more about just really believing in yourself and really taking that step out to test your wings. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't, then, nothing will happen as you will. And you're never going to know. And that one thing that I said earlier, the worst thing is to wake up one day and feel that you have regrets to what you didn't do, and then having regrets to what you actually did do, because that's just the learnings.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for coming on here, sharing a bit about your story, and thank you to all the viewers that have been watching today, and we'll see you all on the next one.